Hello everyone, you're listening to Cinema 5000. My name's Mallory. We got some movies to talk about on this episode. This is the first Rewatch Recap episode of 2025. I'm talking about all the movies I watched again for any number of times, maybe the second watch or maybe like the millionth watch, who knows, for between the months of January, February, and March. I always do this by quarter, so yeah, I don't need to do like a whole episode of rewatches every month because sometimes there's a lot and sometimes there's not. But I will say in the winter months, I feel like that's the time when I watch the most movies again. For another reason, who knows what the reason is, but where do we start on this episode? We start way back in January. I watched Desperately Seeking Susan again. I watched it on Max. The tagline is, "Every man is desperate to have her. One woman is desperate to be her. But someone is desperate to kill her if they can figure out who she is." A bored New Jersey suburban housewife's fascination with a free-spirited woman who she has read about in personal columns leads her to being mistaken for the woman herself and into a chaotic adventure of amnesia and self-discovery. It stars Rosanna Arquette. She's the lead in this as Roberta. Roberta is the housewife from New Jersey who keeps seeing these personal ads that are about Susan. They're all desperately seeking Susan. And who is Susan? Well, it's Madonna. This is a very free-spirited New York and like kind of new wave-ish time comedy. Very fun. I love this cast. Aidan Quinn, Madonna, Rosanna Arquette. Laurie Metcalf is in here as well. Will Patton, Stephen Wright, John Turturro, Giancarlo Esposito even shows up. Like a really great cast. It's I think a lovely, lovely film. Just so fun and free and not really too serious or anything like that. Cinematography by Ed Lockman as well. After watching this on Max, went ahead and just bought the Blu-ray because I was like, you know what? That's a movie I can just see myself putting on at any time and just really enjoying because, sometimes people just want to have a little bit of entertainment that's really not too complicated, of course. Me, I like my sad European pictures that are very depressing. But every once in a while, I do want to watch a Desperately Seeking Susan film, and I just find this to be such a delight. Gave this 3.5 stars, my rating. I don't think I had rated it previously on Letterboxd. Maybe I had. I don't know. But it's just so much fun, and they just really don't make them like they used to. So Desperately Seeking Susan from 1985, directed by Susan Seidelman. 3.5 stars on my rewatch. And I do believe this was the second time I had seen the film in full. They used to play it on Comedy Central a lot back in the day. Up next, the following day, I went back to the theater to watch Nosferatu from 2024, directed by Robert Eggers. Succumb to the darkness, a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. So the reason why I saw this again so soon after seeing it in the theater, I saw it like just a couple days after Christmas, was because my local theater didn't have it in RPX around Christmas, and then they did have it probably within the first week of January or so, and that's why I got to see this again, because I was like, I want to see this on the bigger screen with the louder noise. And I will say the first time I saw it, I was pretty far back in the theater, and it was just too far back for my liking. Like, I don't want to do that again. I like to be about midway. If the theater is like kind of like an average size of like less than 200 but more than 50 seats, as far as like Regal cinemas go, and if it's a smaller theater, I'm okay with being far in the back. Like, that's not a problem. The larger theaters, I'm probably like I want to say like midway or lower, maybe in like the I don't know, the first 3/5 of the theater or so. But anyway, I went back to see Nosferatu, felt kind of the same about it, gave it 3.5 stars. Really love the picture though. I will say this is something I'll probably watch again soon. I do need to get myself a physical copy of it on Blu-ray to own. I wish I could get the 4K, but I don't have a 4K TV. I don't have a 4K player, so kind of don't need to do that just yet. Okay, so the next film I watched, oh gosh, the day after Nosferatu, I watched Challengers again. You know Challengers, from 2024, directed by Luca Guadagnino. Her game, her rules. Tennis player turned coach Tashi has taken her husband Art and transformed him into a world-famous major champion. To jolt him out of his recent losing streak, she signs him up for a challenger event, close to the lowest level of pro tournament, where he finds himself standing across the net from his former best friend and Tashi's former boyfriend. Letterboxd tells me I've logged this 5 times, and this was the 4th, so we'll talk about it again shortly. Yeah, I just love this. It's one of my favorites of 2024. Maybe it is my favorite of the year. Maybe. I don't know. I love it so much, and like I own it, so of course I'm gonna watch it whenever I get the chance to. Yay. Okay, so later in January I watched The Terminator from 1984, directed by James Cameron. Your future is in its hands. In the post-apocalyptic future, reigning tyrannical supercomputers teleport a cyborg assassin known as the Terminator back to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, whose unborn son is destined to lead insurgents against 21st century mechanical hegemony. Well, meanwhile, the human resistance movement dispatches a lone warrior to safeguard Sarah. Can he stop the virtually indestructible killing machine? Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, is our Terminator here, and Michael Biehn is Kyle Reese, who needs to find Sarah Connor and save her. Yeah, I love the Terminator. I love T2. T3 I do really like as well, and I never saw any of the sequels after that besides Genesis, because I didn't care so much. And I never even saw the TV show. The TV show, I was just like, that's stretched too far for me, I think. But I remember hearing good things about the TV show. Maybe I'd give it a shot. But anyway, The Terminator from 1984, directed by James Cameron. I gave this 4 stars. I just think this is such a fantastic 80s action picture, a fantastic sci-fi film, just a blast. Yeah, I love everything about this, and it feels so much stripped down compared to like the films that preceded it. So, you know, it's like it just, for where this movie starts out and the, you know, things that set up for the future of films, not the future in the movie, but the future of what movies came after it. You know, this is such a big landmark of cinema, and I have the Blu-ray, the older Blu-ray. I don't have any of that newer. Oh boy, I've heard things about the quality of the newer restorations with computer technology of the James Cameron pictures, and I'm in no rush to ever buy those or even acknowledge them beyond mentioning them now. So I'm very glad I have my older Terminator Blu-ray, and then I have T2 on DVD. Like I have like a special edition one that has like a couple discs in it and has tons of features in it. But yeah, I love these movies. Terminator from 1984, directed by James Cameron, 4 stars. One of my favorite action films of all time. Well, you'll hear, I have a number of action films I watched, again, that are things I own, and they are good times, and I'll talk about them. But we need to talk about Blue Velvet from 1986, directed by the late, great David Lynch. I watched this right around the time that he passed away, you know, for old time's sake. The tagline is, "It's a strange world. The discovery of a severed human ear found in a field leads a young man on an investigation related to a beautiful, mysterious nightclub singer and a group of psychopathic criminals who have kidnapped her child." You know, I hadn't seen this one in a really long time, but I do own the DVD. And, you know, watching this again, it still holds up. Not just in the sense of like the quality of the picture and how it's made, but its messaging and the story of like the horrors that we just don't know, and like small town life and the things, you know, kind of happening behind closed doors, and the horrors and violence against people. I remember when I saw it, for the first time, I must have been 13, 14 years old. I used to work at a video store when I was a preteen. Oh, no, not preteen, but I started working at a video store when I was 13. So I had access to any kind of movie you could think of. And it just became a thing of, what's the movie that I've heard somebody talk about that I should give a shot? And this was the first David Lynch movie I ever watched. And it really freaked me out. Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, but it's a great film. I do love this and Mulholland Drive. I don't know if I could pick, I probably couldn't pick between the two about which is my favorite, but those are great movies if you haven't seen them. Yeah, Blue Velvet from 1986, directed by David Lynch. Just one of the all-time greats. 4 stars for this film. And we've lost David Lynch, as you know, I mentioned. And is there any movie? You know what? I have not seen Fire Walk with Me. I think that's the only of his major. Okay, yeah, that's the only of his major directorial efforts that I haven't seen, and I haven't seen all of Twin Peaks. I watched like some of the first season, so maybe one day, I don't know. Maybe Twin Peaks is just not for me. I haven't seen Dune. I've seen like half of Dune and like fell asleep during it. I'll have to get to that, especially since, you know, the way we all view Dune now. But maybe I'll read the book too. That's on my to-do list. Lots of films on my to-do watch list. You know, lots. Yeah, and this was like the cold of January, so like even the following day I got to rewatch another movie. I watched Prêt-à-Porter from 1994, directed by Robert Altman. Sex, greed, murder, some things never go out of style. During Paris Fashion Week, models, designers, and industry hotshots gather to work, mingle, argue, and to seduce one another. This is a very ridiculous romp. It takes place in the Paris Fashion Week. We have a wow of a cast, like the incredible Marcello Mastroianni, Sophia Loren, Jean-Pierre Cassel, Kim Basinger, Chiara Mastroianni, daughter of Marcello Mastroianni, Stephen Ray, Anouk Aimée, Rupert Everett, Rosie De Palma, Tara Leon, Georgiana Robertson, Lily Taylor, Sally Kellerman, Ute Lemper, Forrest Whitaker, Richard E. Grant, who else? Julia Roberts, Tim Robbins, Lauren Bacall, Lyle Lovett, Tracy Ullman, Linda Hunt, Terry Garr, Danny Aiello, and Jean Rochefort, and so many people, like a crazy cast. And then on top of like the actors who are internationally known, or maybe are American actors who are showing up in this film, we have celebrities in the film like Cher and Helena Christensen, but Helena Christensen also is a model. And then we have the designers, like real designers in this film, like Thierry Mugler and Jean-Paul Gaultier. It's just a crazy cast of a film, and it's very loose in that Robert Altman way. It's just like kind of observing these people and these conversations they're having, and you know, there's a little bit of crime, there's a little bit of intrigue, there's fashion shows, there's stuff going awry, there's sex, there's seduction, and then there's was there mistaken identities, I want to say, but it's a very bizarro, fun film, and I know why people don't like this one, because they just think it's too flighty or whatever, but I think it's just delightful. This is one I should probably get on Blu-ray, because there are times I'm just like, wouldn't I just love to put on an Altman movie, and I don't know which ones of his I own. I own Three Women, I have Nashville, I have Gosford Park, like Dr. T and the Women. I have a number of his movies, and I think this is one I want to add to my collection if it's available. I hope so. I'll get it. I'll figure it out. But Prêt-à-Porter from 1994, directed by Robert Altman, gave this 3.5 stars. Like, I just really like this one. It's no worries if you don't like it. It's not for everyone. It's a bit more of my, you know, taste of like watching like this world of like, you know, I mean, the fashion world is like so, you know, of its own, you know, it's up its own ass about like how, you know, fashion's impact and stuff is, and this is kind of skewering it a little bit and having fun, and plus you get like people like Marcello Mastroianni like bumbling about. It's a good time. I really like this one, and yeah, if you've never seen a Robert Altman movie, get to it. Robert Altman is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. So about a week after I watched Prêt-à-Porter, I watched Challengers. Again, that was my 5th time watching Challengers. Yeah, I think I like this movie a lot. It's easily my favorite Luca Guadagnino film. I have just such a great time watching it. I might have marked Call Me By Your Name a little higher. I think Call Me By Your Name is, I think, I can't really compare them, can I? This is like obviously my favorite though. This just like touches a nerve with me when it comes to how the movie's made, its editing, its cinematography, the way it builds this world, and I just think this is just a great film, like all-time fave already. Now let's fast forward into February. Of course, on February 2nd, I rewatched Groundhog Day from 1993, directed by Harold Ramis. He's having the worst day of his life over and over again. A narcissistic TV weatherman, Phil Connors, along with his attractive but distant producer, Rita, and his mawkish cameraman, Larry, is sent to report on Groundhog Day in the small town of Punxsutawney, where he finds himself repeating the same day over and over. I have only logged this twice on Letterboxd, but I've seen it, you know, every year pretty much since 1993. I even saw this when it came out in theaters. I was a small child. It was my sister's birthday, so for her birthday party, she went to the movies with all her friends, and I got to tag along. And we had a very funny experience. Now, it wasn't Groundhog Day. It was a couple weeks after. But the theater we went to go see this in downtown Binghamton, which sadly does not exist anymore, they were going to start the movie, and this gentleman came out and said, hey, we're having some problems with the reels, because obviously it's not digital projection, it's regular reel projection for film. The guy came out a couple times and was like, yep, we're still working on it. We're still working on it. And then everybody, it was like an afternoon show, and there were tons of people. Like it was like a regular kind of performance theater, not a movie theater. So it was like a little different as far as how big the crowd was. And I want to say there was like a couple hundred people there. That's my brain, my child brain trying to measure that. But maybe it was a little less than that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The guy continuously came out and gave us updates. And then he said, okay, so we're still working on it. Everybody gets free sodas. So he gave that offer of everybody getting free sodas. And then he came out and he said, now everybody gets free popcorn. We've almost got it fixed. And sure enough, shortly after he said that everybody gets free popcorn, he's like, the movie's going to start. And then the movie started and we watched it. And I've always loved this movie from that time. And it wasn't even about the free popcorn and soda that they gave us, because they had so many people there to watch it on a weekend afternoon. But it's just always been a delight. Bill Murray's really funny in this. Andie MacDowell is like, she's such an opposite to Phil, but like, this is like, it's charming. Just a lovely, charming film. Gave it 4 stars. Love the cast in this. Just how funny everybody is. Like Stephen Tobolowsky as Ned Ryerson. If you have never seen Groundhog Day, February 2nd, or maybe sooner, maybe you should watch it. I recommend it very much highly. All right. Up next is The Truman Show from 1998, directed by Peter Weir. On the air, unaware, every second of every day from the moment he was born to the last 30 years, Truman Burbank has been an unwitting star for the longest-running, most popular documentary soap opera in history. The picture-perfect town of Sea Haven that he calls home is actually a gigantic soundstage. Truman's friends and family, everyone he meets in fact, are actors. He lives every moment under the unblinking gaze of thousands of hidden TV cameras. Of course, this stars Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank and Laura Linney as his wife, Meryl, who is actually an actress. Oh my gosh. So I like this film. I think something about the pacing of how Truman discovers everything in the beginning has always like not really worked for me. It's a weird thing. It just feels a little off. That's not to say it's a bad film. I just think that tone of like how it begins things and the discovery, for my brain, it's not like computing all the way. But otherwise, I think this is a really it's very well acted by Jim Carrey. He's so great. He doesn't need to be funny. He can be like just a regular guy in this and just discovering things about his life and starting to question things and figure out how do I investigate this? And then we have Ed Harris as Christoph, the director of the show, the opus, everything. He controls the whole world and the environment, and he is the creator of what Truman's life is. And it's the conflict of, as Truman discovers things, how does he treat Truman in the world that he's created for him? And so I do think this is a good film. 3.5 stars for me. Peter Weir is a very interesting director. He's made some great films like Witness. What else? Letterboxd, come on, load. I haven't seen it in a really long time, but Picnic at Canyon Rock, intriguing. And Mosquito Coast. He also made this movie called The Plumber, which I really liked way back in the day. A bit of a like domestic thriller kind of thing. I would recommend that, definitely. Check out The Plumber and The Truman Show from Peter Weir. But yeah, 3.5 stars. I hadn't seen The Truman Show in at least, oh gosh, it's probably been 25 years. I have it on VHS, and I got the DVD in a grab bag, and it was like, yep, I've been thinking about watching it again, and then I got it in a grab bag, so I was like, yep, the universe is trying to tell me, you should watch The Truman Show again. Okay, so also in February, where do we go? Oh, well, around the time of my birthday, I had some time off, so I got some movies in, and some rewatches as well. The first one of those that I rewatched was Frankie and Johnny from 1991, directed by Gary Marshall. You never choose love. Love chooses you. When Johnny is released from prison following a forgery charge, he quickly lands a job as a short-order cook at a New York diner. Following a brief fling with the waitress Cora, Frankie develops an attraction for Cora's friend and fellow waitress Frankie. When Frankie resists Johnny's charms initially, she eventually relents when her best friend Tim persuades her to give Johnny a chance. Well, I really like this movie. This is one of my favorite like romantic films. It's not a rom-com. Oh no, it is very much a drama romance. It's about people who come together who are very much, they've gone through some shit. Like Johnny has just gotten out of jail. He needs a job. Frankie had some, relationships in the past that were very bad and misfortunate and really hurt her. She feels very damaged and she doesn't know if like love has another chance for her. But when she meets Frankie, when Frankie meets Johnny, rather, they start to come together and kind of find, that they can talk to each other. But she's so apprehensive about associating with him whatsoever, because not who he is, but she just knows that, men have treated her badly. There was some controversy when this movie was cast, when it was being produced back in the 90s, because the role of Frankie is not traditionally played by a woman who looks like Michelle Pfeiffer, let's say that. But I think Michelle Pfeiffer is a good enough actress that even though she is such a lovely, gorgeous woman who fits those beauty conventions and stereotypes that we kind of expect of women, when it comes to movies and how Hollywood makes them, she really strips herself down for this as far as her emotions and how she plays the part. And I think she is so great in this movie, like really, really great. And Al Pacino's great too. He's predictably great. And their chemistry together, whew. Is it hot in here? Whoa. They are so great together. It's really believable. It works. And yeah, it is a movie, so it's an adaptation of the play in a different format. So, the movies aren't going to necessarily do things the same way that they would when it comes to how the play is on the stage. Nevertheless, I think this is a really delightful film, even as it's one that's examining people who are so like guarded and unavailable when it comes to just accepting what's in front of them. It's tough. Like they acknowledge how tough love can be. So I really like Frankie and Johnny from 1991, directed by Gary Marshall. I gave this 3.5 stars. I would really recommend this, but I can see how this could not work for some people. The drama in this and how they talk, it does feel a little bit movie like, but I think the performances overcome a lot of the problems it has as a picture. Another romance film taking place in New York City. I watched Crossing Delancey from 1988, directed by Joan Micklin Silver. The tagline is, a funny movie about getting serious. 30-something Isabel spends her time going from her tiny, solitary West Side apartment to that of her grandmother on the Lower East Side. While her grandmother plots to find her a romantic match, Isabel is courted by married, worldly author Anton, yet can't seem to shake the down-to-earth appeal of Sam, the pickle vendor. Oh my gosh. So Amy Irving plays Isabel, and she's enjoying her job a lot, and she's really taken by Anton, who's played by Euron Krabby. And yeah, once she meets Pickle Guy, though, it's the tough thing of like accepting that maybe this guy in front of you who does not have anything necessarily attractive about his job, like he's a pickle guy, he is who he is, maybe things are just just right the ways they should be, even with having this other attractive guy in your midst. It's like the tough thing of accepting like that at a certain point in your life, the idealized version of who you want to be with isn't a reality. I really like this film. 3.5 stars for this one. I've seen this a number of times. It just came out on Criterion Collection for Blu-ray if you want to buy yourself a physical copy. I have a digital copy of this, so I just put it on whenever. I've watched it in parts many, many times, and I really like Joan Micklin Silver as a director. Yeah, so Crossing Delancey from 1988, directed by Joan Micklin Silver. As I said, 3.5 stars. It's a fun film. It's a nice film. It might pair really well with something not, I wouldn't say Frankie and Johnny, because that's a little bit more heavy dramatic, but this is kind of like in the same vein of something like Moonstruck, so that kind of romantic comedy. The same night, I actually rewatched another film, Urban Legends Final Cut. Not a romantic film, from 2000, directed by John Ottman. The tagline is Legends Never Die. The making of a horror movie takes on a terrifying reality for students at the most prestigious film school in the country. At Alpine University, someone is determined to win the Best Film Award at any cost, even if it means eliminating the competition. No one is safe and everyone is a suspect. Now, hear me out. I like this movie. I own the Blu-ray. I've watched it a couple times. Urban Legends Final Cut is no perfect horror film. It is kind of goofy in that like these film students feel like they're gonna be like the next big thing, even though Alpine University is a far cry from USC. I'll say that. But I really like this movie. It is a bit cheesy. It is a bit on the nose. But I like the cast here: Jennifer Morrison, Matthew Davis, Hart Bochner, Loretta Devine is back. She's doing security. Joey Lawrence, Anson Mount, and even Ava Mendes. But it's not gonna work for everyone. I mean, this is a movie that came out in the year 2000, but it's clearly of the vein of like the 90s horror films made for young folks. And I didn't see this until I was a bit older. But I remember not liking the first Urban Legend movie. So as a sequel, I was prepared for this one not to be very entertaining, but I think this is fun. I like this one. And I would recommend it. So if you're into like the 90s horror films, like maybe you like the trash, like that, you remember that movie Valentine? If you don't remember it, it's a movie with Denise Richards about Valentine's Day killer. But like the Scream, the films that like are spurned from like Scream being very popular with like young audiences, and like those movies that got released by Dimension Pictures. This is one of those kinds of movies, and I recommend it, as I said. But you know, it's a certain kind of film, so you might watch it and be like, this is terrible garbage, bad movie. But I like it. So Urban Legends, final cut from 2000, directed by John Ottman. I gave this 3 stars, and the award they're all vying for is like the Hitchcock Award. There's so many movie references in this, and just the way that like film school kids talk about movies. It's fun. It's goofy, but it's fun, and I like it. Another movie that I own. Oh yeah, people were talking about this on the internet like around the time of like late February, and I was like, I gotta watch this again. It's To Live and Die in LA from 1985, directed by William Friedkin. A federal agent is dead, a killer is loose, and the city of angels is about to explode when his longtime partner on the force is killed. Reckless U.S. secret agent Richard Chance vows revenge, setting out to nab dangerous counterfeit artist Eric Masters. William Peterson plays Richard Chance, and he is an intense jerk of a man. Oh my God, he's bad. He's real bad, but he's real good at his job. Or is he? He's after Willem Dafoe, who plays Eric Masters, because the Secret Service does work in counterfeit currency and such. And now, that doesn't necessarily make it sound like it's an action movie, but I think the action in this is some of the best action ever done. There's a crazy car chase scene in this that I love. I love it so much. It's so great. The first time I watched this movie, I was blown away by this. It hit so many marks for me that like really made it compelling. And a little like intense, well, not like just a little, it is intense. It's intense because the movie is about William Peterson's character, Richard Chance. Just the way this movie goes about telling this tale of like the mid 80s and the LA scene and the crime that's happening. I love it. Like this is nearly a perfect movie for me. I gave it 4 stars. I own an older Blu-ray copy of it, and I think there's like I want to say there's like a 4K of it that's out. I'm probably wrong. But To Live and Die in LA, it's one of the all-time great pictures, 1985, directed by William Friedkin. And well, I didn't watch a lot of movies in late February, really. I kind of filled the stuff with how do I say it? I was watching a lot of shorts that had to do with movies that were nominated for Oscars, but one movie I did get to the theater to watch again, is The Brutalist from 2024, directed by Brady Corbet. The tagline is, Welcome to America. Escaping post-war Europe, visionary architect Laszlo Toth arrives in America to rebuild his life. On his own, a strange new country. A wealthy industrialist recognizes his talent, but power and legacy come at a heavy cost. So I first saw The Brutalist back, I think it was like November 1st. It played at the Independent Film Festival of Boston Fall Focus. So that's like, they do the regular film festival. It's coming up soon in April, now this month, the end of the month. And then in fall, so like usually last week of October into November, they do some movies that are like up and coming releases that maybe have like some awards talk. And it's a really great like way to catch up on some films. And so they were showing this on 70mm back in November. And I was like, I have to go. I got my ticket. I was really excited to go. I was thinking like, I'm going to really like this movie. And then I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but because Regal Cinemas was showing all the Oscar nominated movies for Best Picture, one afternoon I just had some time. I'm like, I think I'm gonna go see The Brutalist, and maybe I won't stay for the whole thing. Maybe I'll just go to like half of it. And I did exactly that. I left right after the intermission, and I think the first half of the film is the best part of the film. I think it's fine. I see now that I've seen that first half again, like some of the weaknesses in the picture and its scripting and how conventional it actually really feels to me. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any really exciting things about this movie. It's just a movie that's well made, and that's kind of it. It doesn't really speak to me. It doesn't really feel like it has like a really solid portrait of anybody. And then in that second half, I think it abandons a lot of the things that it's kind of building upon. And that was my complaint when I saw it the first time, and it's my complaint when I've seen it the second time. And when I say the second time, yes, I mean I did go only to see the first half again. I left at intermission, yeah, but I didn't need to stay for the second half, because what happens in the second half is just kind of it's a disappointment to me. So yeah, 2.5 stars for the film, even if that first half is just what I watched. Yeah, it's so oddly disappointing to me. I can only hope that Brady Corbet, when he becomes a more seasoned writer, director, can give us more. Because for me, it just feels like his first films, The Child of a Leader and Vox Lux, are just not very successful at all. And this is better. This is better than those two films, but just not that great anyway. Sorry, I'm a Brutalist hater. But something I am not a hater of, well, shortly after the Oscars happened, I thought to myself, gosh, it's been a long time since I've seen G.I. Jane from 1997, directed by Ridley Scott. Failure is not an option. In response to political pressure from Senator Lillian DeHaven, the U.S. Navy begins a program that would allow for the eventual integration of women into its combat services. The program begins with a single trial candidate, Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill, who is chosen specifically for her femininity. O'Neill enters the grueling Navy SEAL training program under the command of Master Chief John James Ergale, who unfairly punishes O'Neill until her determination wins his respect. I can't talk. Demi Moore is Jordan O'Neill. I think it's a great performance. She's really good in this. Like, really, really solid. You believe her. You believe she could do this. The amount of work she did, not just for this movie, but on her body, to give the appearance of someone who seems like they could be up for this task, even before it happens, is really, like, great. Like, hats off to Demi Moore in this. I think she did such a great job in this film. Even when the film itself feels a little bit slight on the details, you understand who her character is. She does such a great job. And then we have as Lillian DeHaven, oh gosh, Anne Bancroft. Why is she listed so low in this cast? She's the she's technically the bad guy in this, because she kind of sets up O'Neill for failure, even though John James Ergale, Chief John James Ergale, Master Chief John James Ergale, is played by Viggo Mortensen, who seems like he is who she's fighting against, Jordan O'Neill, at every turn, because of how he treats her, how things kind of work with the SEAL program. I think this is a fun film. It's not like the best action movie ever. It's not like a very gripping, compelling story, but it is kind of just about a woman against the system in some ways. On the battlefields and in the halls of Congress, I guess you could say. But it's not heavy. Oh, no. This is made for audiences. Like, this is a popcorn picture all day long. And I like this film. I gave this 3 stars. I had not seen G.I. Jane since 1998. I remember the day my mom said so to my sister and I, so what do you want for a movie tonight? If you're watching a movie, what do you want to watch? We both were like, we're watching G.I. Jane. Because we were teenage girls, and let me tell you, when that movie came out, it was kind of like, Demi Moore is gonna do it all. And I was firmly not I was not very familiar with Demi Moore as an actress, and I want to say this is the first film I ever I think I saw The Juror before I saw this one. But to me, I always just thought she was like a really strong performer and really solid. And as I've gotten older and heard like so many negative things, especially in like the press cycle of The Substance, how people talk about how like she was sort of perceived when she was younger and as her ability as an actress, I'm like, I just don't agree with that. I've just always liked her on screen. And G.I. Jane, just a great performance. I'm still heartbroken she lost the Oscar, but it is what it is. she got some accolades along the way. She got acknowledgement, and she got her flowers, as they say. So yeah, G.I. Jane from 1987, directed by Ridley Scott, gave this 3 stars. If you have not seen G.I. Jane, check it out. My library had it on DVD, which was awesome. I was so excited. All right, so I've talked about this before on some recent episodes, but I've been rewatching I've been watching the films of James Bond. This episode's going long, so I'm losing my composure on how to talk. But I've been watching James Bond films, and starting from the beginning with my sister, we've been, as I call it, James Bonding. We've watched 5 films so far, but of the second film in the James Bond films, we watched From Russia with Love, which I had seen on VHS a billion years ago, from 1963, directed by Terrence Young. The world's master of murder pulls out all the stops to destroy Agent 007. I really can't talk. I'm sorry. Agent 007 is back in the second installment of the James Bond series, this time battling the secret crime organization known as Spectre. Russians Rosa Klebb and Kronstein are out to snatch a decoding device known as the Lecter, using the ravished Tatiana to lure Bond into helping them. Bond unwittingly travels to meet Tatiana in Istanbul, where he must rely on his wits to escape with his life in a series of deadly encounters with the enemy. No, this is not a bad one. This is my favorite. I mean, no, this is not Dr. No. This is my favorite of the Bond films that I've watched so far. I don't know what I'm saying, but I think From Russia with Love is really, really solid as an action picture. It's got the intrigue. It's got the, the desire. It's got all those Bond quips, everything you expect in a Bond picture, but I think it's done so well, so solidly. Great editing, great scenery. Like, what a beautiful picture. Great action. It's fun. It's cheeky. I think I'll be surprised if there's another Bond film I encounter that tops this one, and I'll fully say it when it happens. But from the films I've seen so far, this is the only one I've given 3.5 stars. The other ones I've given 3 stars or not. But yeah, I really like From Russia with Love from 1963, directed by Terrence Young, 3.5 stars. Sean Connery, I hate to say it, I am starting to really not like him as Bond as these movies go along. I don't know, but we'll find out if I fall for Roger Moore over him. I want to say I've actually never seen a Roger Moore Bond film. I could be wrong. I'm discovering as these go along, like whether I've seen parts of them or if I've actually seen the whole picture. I do specifically remember seeing From Russia with Love in full back in the video store days. Like, I just rented it. I was like, well, I gotta watch a Bond film at some point. But I was very taken with Pierce Brosnan when I was younger, because I was the right age when those came out, the first Pierce Brosnan films, like GoldenEye, and I was 10, and GoldenEye was, yeah, that was one where my parents rented it for me. They're like, oh, would you want to watch this? It's James Bond. You should know these movies. I'm not saying my parents are like Bond fans or anything, but it was kind of like a thing of, hey, these are the new hit films that are continuing this, long going cinematic tradition, I guess you could say. So I did mention Goldfinger. That was the next movie that I rewatched. I saw Goldfinger for the first time. Oh gosh, from 1964, directed by Guy Hamilton. I saw it for the first time when my family and I were staying at like a house we rented in England around the time that my sister was getting married in England. And it was just kind of a VHS we put on. So Goldfinger, the tagline is, everything he touches turns into excitement. Don't agree with that. Special Agent 007 comes face to face with one of the most notorious villains of all time, and now he must outwit and outgun the powerful tycoon to prevent him from cashing in on a devious scheme to raid Fort Knox and obliterate the world's economy. Yeah, I don't like Goldfinger. I think it's a bad movie. I think it's good sets, sure. Okay characters, sure. It doesn't do anything for me. And the fact that a Bond movie had to go to Kentucky to get the job done, no, not a good sign. Stay out of America, James Bond. It's a waste of time. Yeah, this just isn't very satisfying. I think the acting is just so from the cast, and I wasn't really into it at all. And Goldfinger as a villain, sure, whatever. Pussy Galore, Honor Blackman, it's just not that great. I'm not saying it's bad. It just doesn't feel Like, there's a lot of care with this one. It feels kind of slapped together. So yeah, Goldfinger from 1964, directed by Guy Hamilton. I gave this one 2.5 stars, which is funny because I think this is actually pretty highly rated with a lot of people, but no, it's a not for me. I gotta stop talking about James Bond. Let's talk about a movie I actually like a lot. It's Ronin from 1998, directed by John Frankenheimer. Anyone is an enemy for a price. A briefcase with undisclosed contents sought by Irish terrorists and the Russian mob makes its way into criminals' hands. An Irish liaison assembles a squad of mercenaries, or Ronin, and gives them the thorny task of recovering the case. You know, this is up there with To Live and Die in LA as an action picture, as a piece of intrigue. This is more more European, sure, but I think this is a tremendously exciting film. I love the cast in this movie. Robert De Niro, Jean Reno, Natasha McElhone, Stellan Skarsgård, Jonathan Pryce, Sean Bean, Michael Lonsdale, Katarina Witt. I hadn't seen Ronin in a really, really long time, even though I have it on DVD. The last time I saw this movie was probably not too long after it came out. It just always struck me as just such a great piece of, man, like totally competent and together filmmaking. Just the wheels are turning in this motion picture, and you can see it happening, and you still don't know where it's going to go, like what's going to happen. And all the while, like, we have a really solid performance from Robert De Niro, who's also like kind of falling for two people. He's really into Natasha McElhone, who's playing the character Deirdre, but he also has like a buddy relationship with Vincent, who's played by Jean Reno. And just the way this movie is, and like the, you know, the sort of what's going on thing of like, we got to get this case, blah, blah, blah. The action sequences, the performances, the editing, how things like sort of lay out, and the way it's, oh man, the use of scenery, the use of Paris. I really, really, really like this movie. John Frankenheimer, I've just not seen very many of his movies, which is like too bad. I've seen Island Dr. Moreau, but I don't think it really counts. I've seen Reindeer Games, but I've never seen Seconds, and I've only seen part of The Manchurian Candidate. And I will say Ronin has, like, in my mind, it's one of those movies that I saw on cable in parts a lot of the time, but just never really thought to myself, like, yeah, rewatch that again. But I do own it now on, I own the DVD. I have my DVD, and I actually went ahead and just bought the Blu-ray because my DVD wasn't in the greatest shape, unfortunately. It was one of those things I like got in a grab bag like years ago, but was so excited to get because it was like, oh my gosh. I just remember like how I felt the first time I watched it, and watching it again, it all came back. It's a delight. It's a good time. I do want to watch 52 Pickup, Grand Prix. I think I watched part of Grand Prix a while ago. 7 Days in May. French Connection 2. I don't know. But Frankenheimer has always been like known as like a working filmmaker. Well, when he was working, just a really, really solid filmmaker. Period. Like, nothing bad about the guy. And the work he's done, like nothing you could say like, I mean, granted, I have not seen very many of his pictures, but I think about the Friedkins, you know, how do you say it, the John Schlesingers, and just the filmmakers who worked in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, who just had it, like they had that working attitude and just the way that they were making movies. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense, but Ronin, I will say, from 1998, I gave it 4 stars. Yeah. Back when I first saw it, I just was like, this is it. This is so great. And watching it again, yeah, great movie. I feel like nobody ever talks about it. Yeah, it just, yeah. But I'm so glad that like most of the people I follow on Letterboxd, okay, one person gave it 3 stars. How dare you? Here's another 3 star. Whatever. I don't know you. A lot of people 4 or 5 stars, maybe 3.5. It's a fairly well-rated movie. And then on Letterboxd, come on, a 3.6. That's a little low, people. Maybe they just haven't seen it. What's the numbers on this? Like for how many people have seen it? Oh, I need to know. Only 127K? Come on, people. Okay, guys, if you haven't seen Ronin, watch Ronin. I like it a lot. One of my favorite action movies of all time. Our final film. Now, I was just hanging out on a Saturday night. Kind of didn't know what I was going to do. And I just put this on because why the heck not? It's Ocean's 8 from 2018, directed by Gary Ross. Every con has its pros. Debbie Ocean, a criminal mastermind, gathers a crew of female thieves to pull off the heist of the century at New York's annual Met Gala. Now, this is not as good as Prêt-à-Porter, but you can watch both of these back to back. This is not New York Fashion Week, but it's the Met Gala. So we got the fashion, we got the actors, we got the big cast, and the fun times. Very light film. I don't know if this is my least favorite Ocean's film. It's probably on par with 13, but maybe has some better attributes than 13. Maybe I'll just say it's my third favorite and 13 is the worst, but I like all the Ocean's films. I'm not giving any of them a negative rating. When I first saw this, I thought this was a little slight and was just kind of like maybe in the 2.5 territory, but now rewatching it, I don't think it gets enough credit. For one thing, I think Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett have like great chemistry together, and they also are just like coming in the room, looking fabulous, being like, yep, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to take the money. And I really like them together a lot. You would think in a different version of this movie, like they would have been in like a relationship together or been roommates and just been like the best gal pals ever. You can't ask for much more than that when it comes to the movies. Just ladies having a good time. And that's what this movie is. Ladies having a good time. Sarah Paulson, Anne Hathaway, Awkwafina, Helena Bonham Carter, Mindy Kaling, Rihanna, appearances by Richard Armitage, James Corden. Unfortunately, I think that's the one big mistake. But what can you do? Elliot Gould even shows up in the beginning as Saul. I wish he had a scene at the end of the film. One thing I kind of don't like about this movie is just how abruptly it ends. Like I could have gone for another 5 minutes and really had some kind of big closure. But then again, when this came out and what this was made for was just like a summertime good time film. And I think it succeeds at that. So I'm going to give Ocean's 8 from 2018, directed by Gary Ross, 3 stars. Because, like I said, 2.5 when I first saw it, but I think it's a good time. Like, you put on this movie, it's hard to hate, in my opinion. Everything, it all tightly works together. And it's like, another thing that's probably, I'll say it. It's probably a little weak, but Richard Armitage, he's not a bad looking guy, but I feel like the story surrounding him kind of could be aided like either by the script being pumped up a little bit, having him a little more in the picture, or just recasting the role. Something needs to change there to make it a little bit more like, why are we doing this? What's the task at hand to get back at him? Because if you think about Terry Benedict and that character, there's so much presence, and Andy Garcia is really owning it, looking really rich and really powerful and really, kind of like a guy you don't want to be on your bad side. So Richard Armitage, not exactly working with that here. Not exactly on that level. But like I said, not a bad film. And I'm going to stop talking because I need a drink of water. That is the Rewatch Recap episode for the first quarter of 2025. The count for the movies that I'm at, I found a couple movies here and there that I had not marked as watched, but we're at 5,758. And coming up on the next episode, we got some more Bond talk to do. I watched another film. I liked it better than Goldfinger. That's the bar. And I'm so hoping I can get to go see Snow White. Now, say what you want to say about Snow White. I want to see it for myself because I've seen a number of those Disney remakes, and I just have to. Why not? Princess Mononoke 4K is actually coming, the 4K restoration rather, is coming to my local theater. I'm hoping I get a chance to see it, but I've seen it before many, many times. That's one of the great movies ever made, period. And other than that, I'm not sure what I'm gonna see in theaters, so might have to dig into my gigantic pile of movies that I have never watched before. There are so many, and as you might have heard, unfortunately, we have lost Val Kilmer, the great actor Val Kilmer. I have been a fan of him since I was 10 years old. Batman Forever coming out. I saw it in the theater with my friends. Always really had a crush on him. Thought he was so great. But as an adult, as I got older, I got to watch more of his pictures where he wasn't just Bruce Wayne. And I've always been a fan of him and really enjoyed his presence in films. And I mentioned, on this episode, To Live and Die in LA, and Ronin, another one of my favorite action movies ever, is Heat. He is so terrific in Heat against Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Great movie anyway. And other movies I like with Val Kilmer. Oh boy. I mean, I like The Island of Dr. Moreau for all its flaws. I will say that. Let me think. Oh yeah, Top Gun. He's great in Top Gun, even though I'm not a fan of Top Gun, but I am a fan of Top Gun Maverick. And the send-off we get of Val Kilmer and Iceman in Top Gun Maverick is really terrific, and we're so lucky we got that. But I'm so sad to hear that he's passed, because I've always really, really enjoyed him in movies, and there's still more of his movies I haven't seen, so I'm going to start to make an effort to watch some of his pictures. One of my friends online really likes Thunderheart, so I think I'm gonna check that one out first for his films. And I do want to mention too, there's a documentary about his life that he was involved with that's narrated by his son, Jack Kilmer. The documentary Val. It is only on Amazon Prime, but I highly, highly recommend it. That was one of my favorite movies of the year when that came out in 2021. I think it was 2021. Regardless, it's a great documentary. We've lost a great artist. I really loved him. Every time I watched him, and I don't know how many times I've seen the movie The Saint. Oh my gosh, so many times. But he's one of those actors that had just such a great screen presence, and I'm just so thankful we got to see him as an actor and perform so many times, and just so great. I'll miss you, Val. All right, so I'm Mallory. That's the episode. Go to cinema5000.com for updates and YouTube uploads. On YouTube, Cinema 5000 Podcast. On Bluesky, Cinema 5000. And if you want to send an email, send it to cinema5kpod@gmail.com. I'll talk to you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. All right, bye.